to shit. And if nobody shows up, but this is just a good test anyhow, right?
Yeah.
This is like another test. So we should be live any second if we're not already. Let me check our YouTube channel. We might be
I've
live.
got it up. Yeah, I've
Okay,
got it
we're
on.
good. We're live. Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We are here. So people will start showing up soon for our, well, this is not a completely unscheduled live stream. I scheduled it 90 minutes ago. So that's
Yeah, you
considered
also scheduled it for half an hour from now.
That's true. I scheduled it for 25 minutes from now. But
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Too bad.
Hey, there we go. All right. Yep.
So we got a lot of shit that we could talk about.
We got a lot of shit to talk about.
A lot of stuff to talk. We could talk about. And then we can, for people that are watching the replay, we'll wait for people to show up. So we're just going to hang and talk because Dave hasn't been on the live stream live in quite a bit.
It's been a while.
So we're just doing a hang to talk and chat. And then we're going to pull up a mix and demonstrate a little bit of the Flock Patch XT and the app and just kind of show you in real world situation, how do we kind of use it? And if people want to ask questions, or I basically we did a rough drum bass mix, but there's no hardware on anything. So we can just, people want to hear a couple of different pieces of hardware, or if Dave wants to hear a couple of different pieces of hardware, we could demonstrate how well that really works for people that are interested.
We don't have the piece of hardware yet that I want to hear. We don't have the Fairchild yet. So
no,
you know,
we don't have that. Well, we got a whole,
yeah, we got everything else.
If you can't pick something out of that pile, I don't know what to tell you. So that's what's kind of going on here. Precocious, how are you? Good to see you. You may be new to the channel. I don't recognize your name.
Yeah,
glad you're here. Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll do that. And then we'll, we'll answer people's questions. If people want to ask about equipment or gear or whatever they want to talk about, that's what we're here for.
We could talk about converters and Atmos.
We can talk about converters and Atmos again.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done enough. We haven't done enough of that.
Yeah, as usual, you know.
But we can chat about whatever you folks all want to chat about. So the first video, Dave, this week went up for the Bus Plus. Yes, the very first video. There are a total of 5 videos in that series. All 5 have been recorded and they're all scheduled to come out. Hi Niles, how are you? They're all scheduled to come out over the next, I don't know, 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm really, really sorry I didn't get out there for those videos, but you know,
that's okay.
I really wanted to be there for that one.
That's okay. Now they're done, and we got it done. Make everyone, the couple guys or whoever's in the chat, let us know if you can hear us okay. The volumes are okay. If something needs to be adjusted, just let us know.
Yeah. So
yeah, so that's cool. So those videos are done, and that's a cool compressor, man. But I'll tell you what, there's a billion options of things that you can do inside of that one box.
Yeah.
I think it might even be the most highly tweakable hardware compressor I've ever seen. I don't know that there's anything else out there that does all the things that this thing does in one unit.
Yeah. I've never seen a hardware unit with that many layers in it. You know what I mean? I mean, like with so many different modes you can switch in and out of. I've never seen another piece of hardware have that many modes that you could switch into and out of.
Yeah, but it goes even beyond the 4 modes. It's inside of each one of those modes, because a lot of the pots and the buttons are multifunctioned. So they go into like sub menus, if you will, of things that you can do. I probably said it in the very last video that I did. It's the one piece of hardware that if it had a digital control plug-in component would be freaking great. Because unless you're just going to kind of set it and forget it for the most part and find like your maybe combinations of settings that you typically like and kind of leave it. If you're going to if you're going to go into all the sub menus and tweak it from project to project, recall will be a nightmare on that thing. That's the
Yeah,
problem
I
with the
can
unit.
yeah, I would imagine, because like, you could be in one mode and then be in one sub menu, make one tweak, go to a different sub menu, make another tweak. You could have, like, 10 different tweaks in there that to document that, yeah. Yeah, I know, because I think we were talking about that on a Zoom call once, where I said that they should do 2 versions of that. They should do, like, a very simple, bus compressor with the 4K mode and the silk circuit and whatever else would fit really good on, like, a master bus, and then
Yeah,
do a second version with all of the tweakability in it and digital control. They should actually
yeah,
think about splitting that into 2 different units.
yeah. It's got it much. It would have been a perfect unit for them to get into the digital controlled market, because they don't do that yet. That would have
Yeah.
been the perfect unit to do it on. But my guess would just be that it would have driven the cost up another $1,000 probably for that, and maybe even
Yeah.
more. I don't know, and I
Yeah,
don't know
which
then
which
if it just comes out
which
if
is
it
why
just
I'm saying 2 different units. That way you could have the one, like, if you want all of that, you're gonna pay for it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And if you want it simple, you have a simple unit for the people that don't wanna pay for it. So, I mean, like,
yeah,
that would be, if SSL was ever gonna listen to me outside of my tweaks for the console itself, that's one of the things I would suggest they do,
yeah.
you know?
But aside from that, it's a really cool unit. I mean, it's great. I mean, I got it in the set it and forget it mode. But I mean, but I'm using the features beyond the consoles, because there's settings in there that's not in the console, and I am using those. But it
Yeah.
is set it, forget it, and tweak the threshold on the master bus so you're hitting your compression, and that's it. But I do love the 4K mode, which I use, and I do love the feedback mode, which I use, and I am using a little bit of the dynamic EQ, just a touch, and that's nice too. So
Yeah.
it is really nice. I will say it is a really nice unit.
So
Really nice unit.
you would say, outside of the actual bus compressor in the console, that there's an advantage to this unit?
Yes, because of all the yes. Yeah, for sure. For
Mhm.
sure. Without a shadow of a doubt, because of all the additional, because you don't get the 4K mode in the console, you don't get the
Mhm.
low THD or the feedback mode, you don't get dynamic EQ, you don't get any of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's even more stuff beyond that.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So
Yeah, if you were gonna build one box to do everything, I think they did it, you know?
they did, it's nice. So anyway, all those videos are coming. Okay, we have a
Yeah.
question here about the Behringer 369 KT. What's KT stand for? You know?
No idea.
Is the
Uh,
369, is that the 33, is that their
that's
33609?
gotta be the 33609, yeah.
What's our take on it? I don't know. I haven't used it. But I know Behringer recently has they're starting to release a lot of these, they're now in the let's make our version of the classic gear mode. So they've done this one. What else did they do recently? Didn't they do something else recently?
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a 33609 clone, and it is an absolute dead-on clone too. I mean, it is a
Right.
dead
But what other gear? Don't the aren't they
on.
recently put something out? Recently out something else? Didn't they do like a stereo 76, or was that Warm Audio? Warm Audio did some
No,
stuff to it.
Warm did a second generation of the 76 and the LA2A, and then they did a stereo version and so forth. Yeah, no, that was not Behringer. Behringer is starting to get into this same market now. Um, Sorry about that.
That's okay. They did a Neve 1073, didn't they, Behringer recently?
They did a 1073 preamp.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, that, from what I've heard, everybody's saying that that's a really incredible unit too. Oh, and they did a 676, which is kinda like that,
Right, that was the one. It was
yeah,
it's got the preamp and the compressor in one unit, like the
yeah,
UA. The UA
Yeah.
676. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so they're not just dipping their toe into the high-end audio market, they're going absolutely insane
So
really
they're
fast,
starting. They're
you know?
starting to make their copies of that classic stuff now
Yeah,
too. But I
and,
haven't used any
it's
of it.
it's always been my opinion with Behringer, especially, like, way more so than Warm Audio. It's always been my opinion my opinion with Behringer is, 1, they're not at all afraid to do a dead-on copy of something to make it look exactly like the piece of gear they're you know what I mean, that they're recreating.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if they're opening these things up and absolutely dead on copying the circuitry or not, but it's like, they like a lot of their synth stuff too is coming up. People are going nuts about their synths, you
Oh,
know?
really?
Yeah, and it's like, so I mean, like I've my experience with Behringer is from a while back, so I haven't been into it lately at all. But
Yeah.
my experience with Behringer has always been, it's cool. They did a good job of creating the sound, but every time I touch a Behringer product, I feel like I'm gonna break it. At least I mean
Quality.
up
You
to the
mean the build quality?
yeah, yeah. It just feels light and
Mm-hmm.
lightly made, and it's just I always feel like with a Behringer product, I just feel like I'm gonna break it. So I mean, I have no experience with the units that we're talking about now. They may have improved their build quality, to make it at least feel more substantial. But that's always been my experience with Behringer. So,
How
but
much is
hey, they're
that? How much is that 33609 that they're making? Any idea?
I didn't even see a price on it. I'm
400
I'm on
bucks.
their website. Yeah, I'm on their website. So let me
It's
see.
gotta be less than. It's probably less than 600, right? I would
Oh,
think.
I would hope at this point. Let me see here.
While you're
Uh
looking.
609. Yeah, Sweetwater's got it for 610.
Oh,
Vintage
600.
King has it for 610. It's 610 on Reverb. Yeah, so 610.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Huh,
Yep.
so be it.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. You know.
Yeah, everybody's everyone's making this stuff now. And Warm Audio
Yeah.
just did they did the 33, they did the what? They did the 76s, right? The
Yeah.
1176s, they made them stereo.
Yep. Yep.
They just recently did those as well.
Yeah, let me get to them too. Warm Audio. Yeah, they're getting into a lot of stuff. Studio. Nope, nope, that's not what I wanted.
But they've been
Here.
doing it for a long time though, Warm Audio.
Yes.
They've been making the copies for a while. So
Yes, they've been well, copies, recreations.
recreations, yeah,
Yeah,
recreations.
recreations, excuse me. No, let's not. Yeah, they have a dual channel D. They have a dual channel blue stripe, a single channel D, a single channel blue stripe.
Right.
So, and then they have that preamp, that preamp they came up with, and like they got a lot of stuff like that too. So yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing again with Warm Audio. I mean, I'm not gonna run out and start trying to stuff. I mean, you've got one Warm Audio piece in that studio now that you're happy with,
I like it. The
you
Tube
know?
Tech, the
Yeah.
WA1B. I like it.
Mhm.
We can listen. We can try it in a little bit. We could put it on something. It sounds good.
Yeah.
I think it sounds good.
Yeah. I
Sounds
mean,
good.
it sounds like they did a really good job with it,
Yeah,
but
I can't compare it to a real Tube Tech because I've never used one or nor do or own one, so I couldn't tell you. Does it sound
yeah.
just like the Tube Tech? I have no idea. I just know it sounds good.
Yeah. It sounds good for what you're doing with it. So, you
Yeah,
know.
and it's built really well. I think at the time that was their most expensive unit so far. It was
Yeah.
1400 bucks or something like that,
Mhm.
which is like what, 3 times or 4 times the price of their 1176 for
Yeah.
a mono compressor, 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean it's cool. It's a cool unit.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a cool unit. Higher Grounds wants to know, do you use a VU meter to balance your mixes? Well, I use a VU meter to help me gain stage. So when you say balance your mixes, not really sure what you mean, except that I do
Yeah.
use it for gain staging purposes.
Well, yeah, I mean, metering, I mean, if you're to me, if you're in the box, a VU meter is way more handy for gain staging and stuff like that, but, I mean, as far as, like, balancing your mixes, I'm using my ears.
Yeah, the meter is just a visual to just make sure you're not coming in or going out too hot or clipping anything you don't want to be clipping. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't have VUs on the console. I have the LEDs, but I use them. I guess you can, I use them the same
yeah,
way you would use a VU as
yeah,
I'm listening, but I am looking at it coming into the console because I know where the sweet spot is on it. So I'm trying
mhm,
to make sure I hit that. Um,
yeah.
so I guess I use
It's
it as a
funny
it's more of a guide.
yeah, it's funny with me because like, I tend to use the meters more when I'm mixing to, like, the delay into 3 reverb trick. I tend to use the
Yeah.
meters more religiously to balance those levels together and stuff like that than I do to
Yep.
actually anything else, you know? But then again, like, when I'm especially, like, when I'm mixing, I mix at a really low dB level. I mean, like, I'm usually
Mhm,
coming out around, like, -12, -9. So, like, clipping is
mhm.
never an issue for me, you know?
Yeah. Yep. So if anyone has any questions, say hi in the chat. Let us know that you're here. Let us know what you want to talk about. Anything you want to know. Anything you want to tell us about what you're doing in your studio, what gear or whatever you're doing. What are you buying? What are you working on? I'm always
Hmm,
curious to know about that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, when a few more people show up, we'll pop open the
yeah.
Flock. We'll get the Flock app up, show
Mm,
you how that kind of works. We can throw a couple of pieces of gear around. We have a mix by our good buddy and friend James D. Cooler on the console. His links are in the description box below, by the way, if you want to check out his stuff. He's really cool.
yeah.
And we can mess around with that, and then we can
James is overseas, right? He's, like, Bulgaria or someplace
yeah,
like that,
he's
isn't
over.
he?
Yep,
Yeah.
Argloff. Good to set your VU on compression amount rather than level.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
that's yeah.
I don't even do that. I use my I mean I don't
Mhm.
well the meter doesn't mean anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. The meter does mean something, but it's again use your ears.
Yeah,
So I don't I don't compress and then go, well, I'm looking to hit a certain amount. I compress until I go, yeah, it sounds good. And that could be 3 dB, it could be 6 dB, it could be 10 dB, it could be whatever. Doesn't
yeah,
really matter. So again,
yeah.
I use the meters as a guide, not as an absolute we're shooting for a number most
Mhm.
times anyhow. So it's just again, it's a guide and use your ears. Don't look at the meter. If it sounds good, it is good. And it doesn't matter if you're compressing it, more or less than what the meter you think it should, because every unit too, the meters are all calibrated a little different anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, for me with that, you know, if I'm doing, like, functional compression on a channel strip, I'm just, like, 3 dB, you know what I mean? I just wanna move the needles. I don't wanna get crazy
Yeah,
with it, you know what I mean? So, that's how I go, but it's the same thing too. I mean, like, listen, if 6 dB of compression sounds right, 6 dB is what is correct. If 3 dB sounds correct, that's what's correct. It's a matter of what's working for the mix,
right.
which is going right into this question here, you know?
By Kevin. Hey, Kevin, how are you, buddy?
Yeah.
Can you
Hey, Kev.
dive into templates? Do you both use them, and how different is your setups for different instruments? You can go first, Dave. Do you use templates?
I have a routing template that I mix with,
Hmm.
but I do not use a mix template with all the plugins preset and everything else. I do not do that. Um, because my tendency is I approach each mix as an individual work, and I don't want to be so pretentious as to call it an art form, but to me it is where, me like you have I have to take each mix as its own freestanding thing. And if you just set up a template and that's it'll open up the whole speed mix debate with me again, which we can go down that rabbit hole. But to me, if you just like have a mix template and you mix into that every time, that's not art to me, that's production. That's a production line, and that's not why I do this, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I only use a template in that a routing template because I'm running things out of the DAW into a console. So there is a template as far as that goes. A routing template, I guess you go for the IO. Short of that, I don't template anything. Um, Again, I'm more like you. I start every project from scratch because every project's a little different. I will always try to, where practical and where possible, and most times, at least like let's say on drums, I mean, kick drums always channel one, always. And the drums are pretty much in the same spot all the time. Some of the instruments might move up or down the console a little bit depending on the particular session that we're working with. Because I don't have enough faders, to where I could always leave certain things on certain tracks all the time. So, and then nothing else is templated for me. Oh, and there's a couple of plugins on my print track that are always there. There's a little bit of template, little bit. I shouldn't say there's none. That's not true, but it's not like, it's not heavily template out.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like like a shell of the
Mhm.
stuff I will use in every mix, and then everything else is from scratch. Everything
Yeah,
else
well,
is
I mean,
from.
like, if you consider my mix bus chain a template, then you could say that, because I do tend to mix into the same settings on my mix bus chain. So if you wanna
Mhm.
call that a template, you can call that a template. But like I said, as far as having, like, plugins preloaded or settings preloaded for specific instruments, no, I do not do that, you know?
Yep. Thanks, Kevin. Hey, yeah, another Kevin. Hey guys, just popping in to
Mm.
say hi. Hey, Dave saw
Kevin
some
De Beer Guy 007, I like that
double
name.
O seven.
De Beer Guy 007.
Saw some of your follow-up videos regarding the Flock Audio Patch XT. Glad to see it's working out for you. Workflow looks pretty nifty. It is. It's very nifty. It is a cool piece of gear, man. I'll tell
Yeah.
you. It's one of those things like when you work with it enough, you get spoiled and you go, geez, I don't know that I'm going to be able to go back. I mean, you could go back, but it's hard to
Yeah.
go back to a manual patch bay. After, and you'll see, Kev, if you stick around for a little bit, you'll see us use it. And, when you see how quick and easy it is, to just go, Dave goes, put this piece of gear on, and I go, okay, boop, boop, and it's
Yeah.
done. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I may have to tweak the setting on the compressor or the EQ a little bit, but again, we're talking about minimal amounts of stuff. Um,
Mhm.
it's hard to it's hard to want to go backwards and go, yeah, I don't really want to work that way anymore. Like to go back with all those cables and patching and unpatching.
Yeah, and
But yeah, there's more.
I can say being in the room with that thing for just a couple hours, it was, yeah, it's a huge, huge change in how you're gonna approach your workflow.
Yeah, in a positive way, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean,
You know,
it I think the word I used when I was there was transformative. The thing is absolutely
yep,
transformative of the way you're gonna work, you know?
yeah. It does. It is a level of convenience that's so cool. And there's more videos coming on this as well, Kevin. There's some already out there that just haven't gone live yet. So we're gonna try to do more and more of them. But I've been working with it now, I don't know, probably 6 weeks, give or take.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any issues with it. It just works, and I leave it on 24/7. I don't even turn it off. I just want to leave it on and see if it'll like burn out or something.
Mhm.
And it doesn't. So it's really cool. Higher Ground says he saw a video where the guy said he used a VU meter to get his mix balanced. He would get the bass drum to hit -7 with 18 dB of headroom. Okay. And then have the
Okay.
snare hit around the same spot than the bass. Okay. I don't I get it. I don't really do that. That's just not the way I work, but you know, I'm not looking
Every
at a
ev
meter to.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna work their own way. I mean, if for that guy, if for that guy, that's how he works and that's how he works. I mean, a few years back, there was this whole thing about running a pink noise generator and using that to balance your mix, where, like, if you just pushed every fader up until you could just barely hear it above the pink noise, and then you took the pink noise away, you had a balanced mix, and it was like, "Okay, if that's what works for you, fine." I would just much rather use my ears and decide what sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, again, the meters are great if you're checking to make sure you're not clipping converters or clipping where you don't want to be. And it is a good, it's a, yeah, you want to use meters to just check to make sure that you're not, doing something to your audio that you don't want to be doing. Um, but I don't get that down in the weeds. Because I work analog, it's a little different. So, and
Mhm.
again, the video you may have seen, guy may be working on the box, I don't know, which is totally fine. Sounds like a class. This is a class for early beginners. Kaiser, what's going on, buddy? Let's see. Because YouTube heavy compression hits on level triggers, I like digital level gauge for max levels, then control them to prevent those heavy-handed level controls from kicking in. Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
The $1 million question: what is going in the spot where the patch bays used to live? It's already there. The
That's
flock right
that's the
there.
block, yeah.
You can see it right there. There is one patch bay right above it, but only one little small section is being used for the master bus, because if you watch
Mhm.
the install video, you know that we didn't have enough I/O. We came up a couple of channels short with all the master bus chain.
Yeah.
So we needed
To
a
be
patch bay.
to be fair, that empty space in the upper right above that one compressor where you can see the VU meters lit up. Yeah, in
Right
the upper right,
there.
right
Yeah.
there. That's where the
Uh-huh.
Fairchild's gonna go.
You're right up there.
Yeah, that's where the Fairchild goes.
So we're gonna have to move that hot box somewhere at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
but that hot box still has to be away from everything else because you don't wanna melt anything.
Now things like a freaking toaster. You could
Jeez.
put an egg on there and cook it.
Yeah, you that thing is hot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And honestly, you really don't need the flock there. I mean, you could move that. You don't need that there. It's only there because of the cable lengths, and all the cables are already routed there. So when we installed it, it just made it easy to put it right there. But
yeah.
but but theoretically, the flock could go anywhere if your cables can get to it.
No,
So
it was all about cable runs,
yeah, it was all just about the
you know?
convenience of the cable runs at that particular moment. But
Mhm.
you don't even have to see it. Well, the well, you can't see it in this shot, but on the front they have the two left, the left, right, in and out XLR connectors. And that's
Mhm.
really handy. When I did the Bus Plus videos,
Yeah.
that was super handy to just have the Bus Plus sitting right next to me here on a table. And I just ran a pair of XLRs out of the front of the flock, and then put it in the app. Just route it. All you do is, there's two buttons. I'll show you when we get to it. You just turn the inputs. You just turn those front ports on. This is the button turns them on. So
Mhm.
it takes channel 1 and 2 on the D sub. It deactivates them and activates the two front channels. And then that way you can just patch in a piece of gear, use it, and then when you're done, shut it off in the app, and it goes right back to channel 1 and 2. So it really makes it kind of convenient. So it is kind of nice having it there because I have the access of those front ports, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
But aside from that, you don't need to have the flock anywhere in that rack. It could be anywhere back behind the racks, if the cables were there. Hey, King, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you.
Hey, man.
Hey, Mike, over at Peace Valley
Hey, what's up, Peace
Audio.
Valley? How you doing? How you doing, bro? One of the old timers.
Yeah. Analog gain staging and digital gain staging are very different. Well, they're a little different, but gain
Yeah.
staging is still gain staging. Yep. Oh, we're already down
Yep,
at the bottom
for
of the
sure.
chat. Hey, it's 1:30
Yeah.
now, so we're on time for
Yeah.
our live stream.
We're on our scheduled start time now.
We're on schedule for the start time. So what
Because
we can
Dave,
do,
because Dave is notoriously early for everything.
I try to be at least on time, if not early. What
Yeah.
do they say? 15 minutes is on time. 15 minutes
Yeah.
early is on time, right?
Yeah. On time is late. Yeah.
On time is late. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. So what we can do here, let me move. I got to move things around just a little bit here. But what we can do is we can switch over here, and I can bring up the app for folks that have not seen it. Let's switch our shot here. So if we come over here, you guys will see the DAW. I'll take this up. Don't crash on me now. Okay. Let me take the comment off here.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can keep asking questions, and we'll get back to them.
We'll get to them.
We'll get to them.
Peace Valley just threw one up, so you know. We'll get back to you, bro. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll get back to it. Don't worry. It's
okay,
one of our standard live stream questions. We'll get back to it.
Okay. So there we go. All right. So here is our session. So before I bring up the app, so I'll play back a little bit of this. So this is not a mix done. This is just faders up. The only thing that's mixed, if you want to call it mixed, is there's a little bit of EQ on the drums. Everything else is completely unmixed, just some panning. It's not even balanced. This song is a song by the artist James D. Cooler, who has been on this live stream many times. And the name of the song is ATM. So I'll give you a little sample of it, and then we'll solo up the drums, and I'll show you the app and just show you how it kind of works. And if you guys want to, listen to a piece of gear, you just tell me what you want to listen to, and we'll try to make that happen and see if this all works over a live stream and doesn't crash. So, and then you'll let me know if the DAW audio is okay. Okay, here's a little bit of ATM by James D. Cooler.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my car. I need some clothes, a better car, a new nose, a diamond star, the biggest house in Beverly Hills. And you love me if you never have to pay for the bill. Hey, sweet baby, I don't need you. You better find another ATM. Life is more, don't spend my money. I'm not the one who's gotta pay. I'm not to pay your rent. You're living in a dream, but it feels.
Okay, there's a little James D. Cooler. It's kind of a nice little puppety, kind of a bouncy track, which I kind of like. A little different than most of the music that you guys have heard from him on this channel. Normally it's more rock, hard rock. This is a little bit more light, a little bit more fun, but it's got a cool groove to it. I kind of dig it. Hopefully the sound is okay. Let us know in the chat if the sound is acceptable enough. Okay, so let me just show you, for folks that have not seen all the videos, and how dare you have not seen all the videos on the channel as it relates to the Flock XT. As a matter of fact, right now I'm going to move the chat. Can I move it here? I'm going to try that for now. Hopefully this all works. Get all these screens and all these things all over the place. Okay, so here is the Patch DX app. So for folks that don't know, there are two versions of this app, the Patch app and then the Patch DX, which is signified here at the top right-hand corner. And the difference between the two apps is the Patch DX has a little bit, few more additional features, color coding, organizational, things that you can do that you can't do in the regular app. As it sits right now, when you buy any Flock system, the way I understand it is you get an app, and I think the DX is an upgrade, but check their website to, depending on the size of the unit that you buy, the DX may be included. So for example, the XT is the largest unit that they have and is the most expensive. That might come with the DX version of this. I'm not sure if it does or if it doesn't, but just so you realize that. But they look the same, they just functionality, there's some more functionality in the DX. So basically what you have here, and this is already, let me just close this here. Okay. So the way this works is the main part of this app is the grid here in the center that you see me scrolling through. Every one of these paths, they call it a path. Path 1, Path 2, Path 3, Path 4 is a different insert point. The way I have it set up on the console is Path 1 represents channel 1 on the SSL, Path 2, channel 2, so on and so forth, all the way through 32 channels. And if I scroll over, you'll see everything in blue up to path 32. That's the 32 long faders on the console. After 32, from 33 to 48, you'll see those signified in red. Those are the 8 stereo groups in the center. So in essence, what we have here is we have the ability to insert hardware on any of the 32 faders as well as the 8 groups in the center, okay? And that takes us up, I think, to path 48. Path 49 through path 96 is not being used. This is a 96-point patch bay. It's 192 total, it's 96 in, 96 out. That's why you see 96. That's why you see path 96, okay? If you had a smaller system like their 32, it would only go up to 32. But this is the big boy, this is everything. And the way we set this up is, let's just look at path 1, for example, because it's the same on every single channel. Whenever you want to insert a piece of gear into a path or on a channel, channel 1 in this example, you have to have it's the insert point on the console. So you would hit the insert button and you have to have an output and an input to make the loop. So you go out of the console, SSL out, go into a piece of gear that will be loaded somewhere in these 5 slots here where my cursor is, which we haven't done yet. And then it comes back into the console here at the bottom in purple, okay? So that's what creates the loop. If you don't have the output and the input, you won't hear anything if you put a piece of gear in there. Does that make sense? So it's pretty simple. So the way we set this up and the way when we first installed this thing is we made a blank template and we saved this as a template with all of 32 and the 8 groups already set up with ins and outs. Whether I use a piece of gear on a channel or not doesn't matter. It's all ready for me to do that. You could start with an absolute blank canvas and only add the paths or the channels that you want to use for a particular mix. But I just felt like, well, then you have to drag the ins and the outs on every single time you want to instantiate a piece of hardware. This way, it's always set up. It's always there, okay? Along the left-hand side here, you'll see we have a folder that's set up for SSL IO. That's what we just talked about, the ins and the outs for all 48 channels. And you'll see them here. And when they're grayed out here, the reason why they're grayed out, and I don't know if it looks gray on the screen, Dave, but in the app over YouTube, I'm not sure. They're like grayed out like they're not available. And the reason why they're grayed out is because I've already added them to the grid. So for example, so that's all our IO in the folder. Then we have a folder of all the EQs in green. This is all the hardware or all the EQs, excuse me, that are in the rack. So we have an EQP1A, the Audioscape. We have an API 5500 EQ, which is stereo left and right because it's stereo. We have a STAM Audio Pultec EQP, left and right. We have a couple of 500 series Cappy EQs, a couple of Neves, and then a mono Pultec. And these are not grayed out, but if you see, if I were to take the first one and left click and drag it on the, say, path number 1, now you'll see it becomes grayed out. So it's not available to you. That means you've already used that piece of equipment somewhere in the grid. Make sense? And then if I want to remove it, I just right click and hit remove and it puts it back in the main list. So the way we have this set up is all our EQs are set up in one folder. All the compressors are in blue. And this is what's nice about the DX app. I don't think in the regular app you can color code things. So this DX app, one of the features I believe is the color coding aspect. So you can organize and see things on the grid very quickly and very easily. And here's of all of our compressors. So I have a lot more hardware compressors than I do EQs. And the only compressor that's being used right now down here, the decomp by Audioscape, that's being used on a parallel drum track, which we could talk about in a minute. It's already used in the grid. If I scroll over, you'll see it's right here on channel 1314, left and right. If I were to remove that, now it goes back to the list, and now it's available. If I left click and bring it in, now it grays itself out again. So it's just like taking plugins from your browser and dragging it onto a track. That's exactly how this concept works. Okay, so that's the basic. Along the bottom here, quickly, we have some buttons here. And again, this is all in the video that I've already published. You guys could go out and check it out. But when you first want to set up all your hardware, if you were to buy this new, you hit this hardware button. This is where you set up all your hardware for the first time. You manually go in, you type it all out. You only have to do that once, and then you save it. So you always have it. You only have to do that the first time. Then we have some buttons here for if you want to clear everything in the grid, if you want to bank over. Here's the two buttons I was talking about earlier, Dave, about the inputs. Front inputs and front outputs. That now deactivates channel 1 and 2 and turns on the front inputs. So if you wanted to patch in a piece of gear, and then I can use it anywhere in the grid, which is kind of cool. You don't have to go back to you don't have to go back to an unplug 1 and 2 to plug into the front. It does it all inside the flock, which is really great. Then you just turn them off by just doing that. You click them again, and now we're back on the original. You can mute them all. You can add pictures for analog recalls. I don't have any, but you can take, there's an app that you put in your iPhone or your Google phone, your Android, I mean, and you can take pictures of your gear, and it automatically with Bluetooth will put the pictures right inside the app. So all your recall photos are with the session, which are really cool. I don't have any for this because we just started this. And then along the bottom right-hand side, we have these 6 buttons called quick strips. And basically that's just templates. Someone was asking about templates. So you'll see here, I have one called Mix Template 2025. That is basically a blank grid with no hardware, but all the SSL ins and outs already set up, as I just said a few minutes ago. So I don't have to do it on every single session. But if I wanted to have a complete blank session, if I just hit blank grid, you'll see what happens here in a second. It'll switch and it'll zero everything out. Takes a second. I wish the, see? So now it's completely empty, and you can start from absolute scratch. So I have one called blank grid, and then if I want to go back to my mix template, I can hit that. However, what we can also do is up here at the top, we have a list of stored routings. So think of this as every song, every session has its own routing. Right? So for recall purposes, you don't need to go over and write where you, with a manual patch bay, you got to go over and write down where did you patch everything. You don't have to do that here. It just saves it. So here's all the songs I've been working on. Here's James Cooler ATM. If I just hit that, it'll populate this, and here we are again. And if we scroll over to 1314, oh, it's not there. You know why it's not there? Because I took it out and I didn't save it. I didn't save the template.
Correct.
Let me do that again.
Yeah.
So for 1314, if I take the decomp, okay,
Yep.
now I want to save it, hit proceed. I wish there was an auto save, but there's not. Maybe in the next version of the app there will be. But anyway, it'll populate here, which is cool. So all you do is go into the song that you're working on. You can click on the name of the song. All your routings will snap back. Instant recall, completely done for you. And then before we hear sounds, the last thing that I'll show you, let me close this quickly. One other really cool thing is on the master, they have a plugin inside of the DAW called the bridge. And what the bridge is, you could put this on any track. It's just a placeholder. I just put it on the master bus because that's just simple for me to remember. And basically what this does is it allows me to choose my store routings from this list. So if I opened up another session with the first song, 3 Shirts, the patch app is automatically going to open to that. So it synchronizes the DAW to this app. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I don't have to open up the app and switch it from song to song. It'll automatically do it when I open up the session via the bridge. This talks to the app that we were just looking at. So that's kind of a cool little handy feature. So it's always stored. All your routings are always stored. That's about the bulk of what the app is all about. So let's start with, we got drums. So right now, if we listen to the drums, there's nothing on these drums at all. There's not even a bus compressor. There's nothing here. So I took the parallel compression out too, so you're not even listening to it. Okay, Dave, you're up first. What do you want to hear on which one of these drum tracks? You want to hear something? Want to hear a piece of gear? What do you want to hear? There's nothing done to any of these drums A little bit of light EQ, but that's really about it. There's no compression at all. No bus compression, no nothing. What do you want to
What do you
hear?
think about doing a Pultec on the kick drum? The 500 series Pultec on the kick drum?
Okay, so this is what we do. Yep.
And then we'll play with a little compression after that.
Okay, so here's our Pultec 500X. Let's put that right up here. Or I'll put it in the second slot so we could put something before it and after it if you'd like. I'll shut the EQ off on the board because I did do a little light EQ on the kick, right?
Okay.
So now we'll go over there and let's just solo up the kick. I'll turn it up. Now it's going to be out of balance, but just so people can hear it. And I don't know what the settings are on the Pultec, but I'll go over there and figure it out, and we'll dial it in, then we can bypass it. Okay, how about that?
Sure.
I should probably set a loop in the DAW, right? That would make sense.
Yeah, that would help.
I actually set a loop. Yeah, I didn't say I knew what I was doing. I just said we were.
No.
I just said we were going to do something. I didn't tell you we were going to do something like I knew what I was doing. All right, let's loop this up first. Now let's try it. We'll get the app back up here.
Oh.
Okay, so that's a little bit at 40 and a little bit at 8K. Okay, so now if we bypass it, so you can bypass this several ways, right? You can right click and hit bypass, and then you can right click again and hit unbypass, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, hold the command key and just left click on it and it'll bypass it. So I'll show you. So it's that simple, right? So you can just easily audition stuff. You can tweak the gear, come back over and easily audition stuff. It's probably a little bit too much low end.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just wanted to exaggerate it so people can actually hear it over the YouTubes. Okay?
Nice.
More like it, right? What do you want? Whoops.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear next?
1176D.
When you're 1176D, do you want to, would you like it, sir, before the EQ or after the EQ?
After the EQ, please.
Okay. So we got the 1176D by Audioscape. We're just going to take that. We're going to drag it up here. Okay. So now it's grayed out. We can't use it, right? So let me just go over there and it's probably smashing the hell out of it. None of the gear's been touched. So let's just play it and I'll adjust it. We'll get a couple of dB of compression, slow attack, fast release kind of a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oof.
It's about 3 dB of compression. Slow attack, fast release, 4-to-1 ratio. Sorry we don't have a camera on the gear because it just, how much, I can't put any more crap on the screen. But anyway, let's bypass this.
Might need a little more output, yeah.
Oh, I removed it by accident. So that's how you remove it. Option click will remove it. Command click will just bypass it. I just learned something new. Look at that.
It's a
So I
cool
just
thing to
drag it
know.
back on. There we go. Here we go. So we'll bypass it.
There you go.
So you can hear it in
Man,
long,
if
right?
you ever needed a better demonstration of compression as EQ, that was it right there.
Right. So there you go. And now if we wanted to bypass both, we could just do this.
Yep.
But you know, what if you said to yourself, Dave, I want to hear the compressor before the EQ because, you know, I saw my favorite engineer on YouTube and he told me that you need to put the compressor before the EQ, not after the EQ. Because, you know, that's how it works, right? So we can just left click and we can just, oops, sorry. We can just take this and just go. Now the compressor's before the EQ.
Yep.
There you go. So then you can decide whether you like the compressor before the EQ or whether you like the compressor after the EQ. I tend to like it after myself. So we can just
Same
drag
here.
it right there. It's that simple. Now, the only thing I don't like about this app so far, Darren, when you're watching this, because I know Darren will be watching this sooner or later, is I want this to auto save. I don't believe it auto saves. If I were to demonstrate and close out of this for some reason, it loses everything here. You got to save and hit proceed. I'm hoping the next app will have that feature. I don't remember seeing an auto feature in the settings. There's a whole bunch of settings you can do here. I don't remember autosave being one of them. So we're going to work on that. But anyway, so it's that quick. Okay. Who wants to try something different? Who's in the chat there?
Peace Valley wants to hear an API EQ on the snare.
Which API EQ would you like to hear? I have two of them. I have a 550 and a 560. Do you care or you don't care?
Personally, I would go with the Cappy 560 if it was
Okay,
me.
well then that was what we'll do. If Mike wants,
I would honestly like to keep the 5500 for something else in the mix if it was me.
So we got two Cappy EQs. Mike, you're in luck. We have a 561 and a 562 because there's two of them in the rack. So let's drag the 561. That's the snare drum. Let me give you a, I'll solo up the snare. I'll take off the SSL. Well, let's, here's the SSL with the EQ. It's a mixture of samples and non-samples, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Don't worry about that. That's a blend coming down to the console. That's with EQ. Take the SSL EQ out. Okay, let's put the Cappy in. Let's go over there and we'll set it up and we'll see what it sounds like. Here we go. Cappy number 1.
Not bad already.
So it's a little 150, little boost of 150, little boost at 6.4K. And that was it on that. So this is with the cappy. Okay, who wants to hear something else? What do you want to use for a compressor on there, Mike? What's Mike want to do for a compressor on the snare?
If you
Pick
say
your
anything except the warm audio.
anything except. Okay, so here's what.
Yeah.
Well, here's your
Yeah.
menu of compressors. By the way, if I don't know if you how well they can see the print on the screen, Dave, but here's
It's
the
readable.
Okay, so we have the NG bus compressor by West Audio. We got 33. No, we don't have the 33609. We have the L83A. We have a couple of
No.
1176s left. We have a Blue Stripe and the F version F. We have an LA2A, a V comp. We got the 260 VU. We got the 1178. We got the Governor. We got DBXs. We got Warm Audio.
The
We got
CL1B.
CL1B. We got the SSL E Series Dynamics. We got a pair of those. We have the RSC Verimu, which is the hot box. We have a couple of distressors, and then we have another DBX 160A. We got two of those, right? Yeah, we got two of those.
Yeah.
So what do you want to hear? What do you want to do?
Well, I know you want to use the CL1B.
I don't have to. What do you guys want to use? I don't care. I get to use this shit every day. So I'm like, you guys to tell me what you want to hear.
Mike wants you to use the Bluey, so the Blue Stripe.
The Blue Stripe. Okay, so we got the 76D. That would be right up here somewhere. All right, 76A, excuse me. We'll put that after right there. Let me go set that up and we'll listen. So again, 4-to-1 ratio, slow attack, fast release. It's about 5 dB of compression on that. Well, what if you wanted to compare it to something else? I mean, okay, that's cool. That was quick. See how quick that is now? Just for people playing along at home, if you don't know. If you've never used a manual patch bay, what I just did with the cappy and that 1176, the Blue Stripe on that snare drum, going over there, having to patch in and out, 4 cables, and then you got to go back and forth. You can't bypass it, right? You have to bypass it over there at the gear. It's much faster. But let's say you didn't want the 1176. Let's say if you wanted to hear, let's say one of
the SSL E-Dynes.
E-Dynes. Okay, so let's take this one. Let's throw this after it. Let's bypass the 76A. Let me go set up the, what's that, number one? Number one. Let me set that up.
Nice.
So it's got a little bit more body. That's again, now on that one, 4-to-1 ratio, slow attack, fast release, almost 6 dB of compression on that. Now you can, if you wanted to just switch back and forth and you just wanted to audition, right? So it's just as simple as holding the command and clicking. So the one thing you may notice or not notice, you don't hear any click any hiccup in the audio when I switch and turn those on and off, right? It's just about as seamless of a change as you can get, which is one of the things that I was kind of surprised in a pleasant way, that I thought, oh, every time you click, like, sometimes you click on plugins, universal audio plugins in particular, and you get like a crackle when you turn them on and off or when you bypass them. You don't get that here at all. At least I don't hear it on my end. I don't know if you hear it over YouTube, but
No, it's perfectly seamless. There's no artifact at all.
so now you can audition and choose the tone of these two compressors. They sound completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You can use both. So you wanted to go one into the other.
That actually sounds pretty good.
So the only difference there is that, okay, now the 1176 is driving a different level of signal level into that E series. So maybe you would adjust it on the E series. Or you could, again, you can drag this down as far as you want to give you as many slots. You can even rearrange the order and say, okay, that's the 76A into the SSL. What if I wanted to go the SSL into the 76A? Well, you just do this. Pardon me. So again, you could just rearrange them just like that.
Question from the chat, Dave. George Conti wants to know, can you bypass all inserts on a channel with one click?
Yes. I think just by hitting the mute. I don't know. Let's see. Hold on.
Let's see it. Play it.
Let's try it. Now what that does is it mutes the input and the output. So no, not yet. Hold on. I'll bet you there's a way to do it, and I just don't know what it is.
No.
I don't know a way to do that. That I haven't figured out yet. There must be a way. What does the C mean? I forget. I don't want to screw. Let me put in this one. Oh, clear. Oh, that just clears everything.
Clear. Yeah. Do you have an undo button? Oh, you do have an undo.
Command Z.
Yeah.
There we go. So that'll clear everything.
Is there any way to drag the mouse to highlight all three of the hardware pieces and group them?
No, doesn't appear to be.
Nope, doesn't work. Now the green dots in between each one, what do they do? If you hit the green dots, does that do anything? No, that doesn't do anything. Okay.
That's a good question. We're going to ask that question.
Yeah.
I'll find that out for the next time that we demonstrate this stuff. Can you bypass all hardware at one time? At least right now you can't. But we'll figure that out. So that's pretty cool, right? So
this thing's amazing, dude.
Kick it in there. What else you want to hear? Let's keep moving. So we don't have anything on the drum bus. Nothing. If you want to
No,
try
we
something with it.
we really need to put the NG bus on the drum bus because that's where it
Okay.
belongs.
Okay, so let's do that. So this is just, we'll leave the kick snare alone, right? So here's our drum set without a bus compressor. Okay, so now if I come down to our grid here and I come down to the first set of red pats or tracks, and the only reason why they're red versus blue and purple is just so I color coded them that way so I know which ones are the groups and which ones are the channels. That's the only
That
reason.
makes sense.
So
No, that makes a lot of sense.
33 and 34, that's bus number 1. These are stereo groups. We have 8 stereo groups in the center of this console. So what do you want to put on our drum bus? Anyone in the chat or Dave? NG
The
bus.
NG bus for sure, yeah.
Now
Either the NG bus or the LA3A. Let's try the LA3A.
Sure, okay, because the NG bus is controlled with a plug-in, which, I mean, I could lay on the floor, but why would I do that? All right, so let's take the NG bus. No, excuse me, the LA3.
Yeah, let's try the LA3A because that always blows my mind how well that works as a drum bus compressor.
Okay, I don't know what it's going to sound like when I first hit play, but I will dial it in to drum bus standard operating procedure compression, and let's see what it sounds like. Well, right now, I can tell you it's a lot louder, so let's check it out. I don't want to blow the sound out. Let me know if the sound gets a little too crunchy. I'll dial it down. That's about 3 dB, give or take, of compression. So here's with it. There's an LA3A. It extends the snare, gives you a little bit more sustain. That's about 3 dB, give or take. On the tom fill, it's a little bit more. That's an LA3. What else you want to try?
Oh, I don't know.
So let's compare that to
AS78.
Okay, so this is the 1178. Okay, so let's drag this on here. I'll mute the LA3. Let's go set up the 1178 and see what that sounds like.
No, you need level. Yeah.
So it's about the same amount of compression as on the LA3. 3 dB-ish, tom fill, little heavier, 4:1 ratio. Can't set the ratio on the LA3, it's all internal. Slow attack, fast release, okay? So here's the AS78, and then we can go back and forth between that and the LA3. So it's that simple. What else you want to try? What else you want to try? What if something completely different? What if we were to try something like,
The dione?
try the dione? Where is that? That's up here somewhere. I just saw it. Where the hell is it? There it is, dione. So this is what by Wes Audio. So we can bypass that. I guess I can also control it right from the unit, so I don't have to break out the plugin. Let's see what this one does. And that's with no total harmonic distortion circuit in that unit. You could put some saturation in it, which we could try if you want to hear it.
For sure.
But that's the dione, that's a VCA, that's an SSL compressor, basically. That's basically what that is. That's an SSL compressor. Let's try it with the distortion circuit. I'll cycle through the low, medium, high so you could hear it. Sounds a little bit more thicker on the bottom ends. Hopefully that's sounding okay over YouTube, everybody. I hope so. Sounds really good in this room. So now you got 3 compressors you can choose from.
Yeah.
Right, so they can be level matched a little bit better, but I'm trying to do it quick just to, in the spirit of, but like if you were doing this in a mix, like I'd make sure they're perfectly level matched and go back and forth, but they're close. So I don't know
Yep.
which ones you guys like in the chat. Of those 3 compressors, what do you like on this drum bus? Curious to know if
Honestly, I like the Dione. You know, I like the Dione the best. I mean, that's pretty standard, you know, drum bus compressor. But yeah, I like the Dione.
right. So the
The
Dione,
the AS78 does sound good too, though. So
it does. It just sounds different, right? So the Dione's
yeah.
VCA, the AS78's a FET. In
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with the LA3, but just a different type of way the compression works.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Which
but just
it's really a nice way for you to be able to demonstrate the different types of compression on the same source, so you can hear what the different types of compression do. You know, makes really good video demos.
it does. So one of the things that not only so much for video demos, but we're talking about, okay, yeah, you got to patch. It takes a long time to patch, so on and so forth. Yes, but what makes, forget that for a second. That's okay. That's true. But what we're doing right here, right now, switching between these 3 units in real time, A, B, A, B, A, B, you can't do that with a manual patch bay. You can't. If you're listening to the LA3 and you go, okay, sounds good, let me go try something else. By the time you go over there, unpatch the LA3, patch in the AS78, and then come back over and listen, you've already forgotten what the LA3 sounded like, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to go listen to the Dione, you got to go unpatch and repatch. And by the time you come back and listen to the Dione, you forgot what the other one sounded like. And then once you have, there's no way to have them all lined up in succession like this and just turn them on and off like a plugin. Right from the mixing position, right? Because as soon as you come all the way over here, as soon as I come over here, I'm not hearing it right? So the fact that you don't ever have to, once you got it set up, that you never have to leave this position to audition those 3 units, to me, that's the killer thing, way beyond the time it takes to physically put the cables in and out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the difference. So we say, okay, we like the Dione. Great, let's just remove we can remove it by right-clicking, or I think we can hit our Option key, hold down Option, click, click. Now those are back in the list, and I can use those for anything that I would like to use it on. I can take this and just drag this to the top or wherever I want to put it. And there you go. So what else you want to try? Would you like to hear a drum bus EQ? We have some EQs we can put on the drum bus. What does anybody else in the chat want to hear? Here's our EQ list. We don't have as many.
I know what I would go for.
What is someone in the chat, pick an EQ. We have a few there. We got an API. We have a Pultec, a stereo Pultec, and we got a pair of Neve 551s that we can use because it's stereo.
Come on, somebody.
Come on. Here's your chance to pick the piece of gear you want to hear.
Yeah. Higher Grounds just picked my choice.
What did he pick?
5500.
Okay, so we'll take the 5500. Would you like to hear it before the compressor or after the compressor?
Oh, before.
Before the compressor, we'll start, and then we can always move it. So there we go, API 5500. Let me go dial it in, and then I'll dial it in while you guys listen. Let me just, and again, if it starts to blow up the audio here, let me know. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So that's 2 dB at 50, 4 dB at 5K, 2 dB cut at 500.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Okay, if you want to hear it after, again, we can just do this. And now it's compression, then EQ. Right?
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Extremely cool.
So now on channel 1314, we have a parallel drum. Parallel, kick and snare going to a parallel track. So the way that's set up in the DAW is I just took the kick sample, the snare sample, duplicated it, routed it out to track 1314. And on 1314 right now, but we can always change it, is the decomp by Audioscape. So if I just solo up just that, just so you can hear just that. Yeah. So here's just, well, I'll start with it off. No decomp. Here's just kick snare. Okay, so there's a little bit of EQ, parallel EQ, but I'm just using the console for this. A little bit at 50 and a little bit at 5K on the kick and snare. This is just the parallel track. So now what I'll do is I'll bring in the decomp. It's set up to be hitting about 12 dB of compression right now. So here we go. Okay, now if we just blend those into the drums, we'll just blend them in. We'll start with them off and bring them up. And I'll bring the bass in too, why not? Here we go. That's when that decomp is awesome for parallel drums, by the way. I think it's hitting pretty hard. We're smashing them pretty good, about 12 dB of compression on those.
Nothing wrong with that.
Which is pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's the demonstration. Anything else anybody want to see? Anything you want to hear? What would you like? Tell me what you want. We'll be happy to demonstrate it for you. This is the power of this system. Sweetwater carries these units, all different sizes if you want them. I should probably put my affiliate link in the description. Yeah. Go back and watch one of my patch videos if you're going to buy one. Use the affiliate link, please. But this thing is killer. So if you have more than just maybe one or two pieces of hardware, like if you have hardware, if you're in the box, you're not using a console, right? And you're just using hardware maybe on your master bus, a couple of pieces, you don't even need a patch bay, let alone need something like this. Yeah. But if you have several pieces of gear, that you either record with and or mix with that you use in different, different configurations. Something like this makes things so much more convenient. And you could get a smaller system. You don't have to get the big system with all these ins and outs. It all depends on how much IO you need. But hopefully people can see how easy it is to use and how seamless it is. Anything else anybody want to hear or want to see or have any questions about this product or the use of it? Now's the time to ask. If you want to ask. I haven't been watching. So I haven't been watching the chat.
No, I have. It's okay. Nobody's asking anything at the point, so.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have any questions about anything else, let me know.
Yep.
If you guys have any questions at all about any of this stuff. But it's just a cool system. And like I said, it doesn't hiccup. I mean, it just works. It just does not hiccup at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually funny because like what I was noticing is when you were bypassing certain pieces of hardware and stuff, the only like artifact you're getting when you switch back and forth is waiting for the hardware to catch up to the signal you're giving it.
Right.
You know what
And
I mean?
that's just a matter of the cable runs and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's
like
so short. It seems like you can notice it a little bit on a stereo unit, or on the mono unit it's like instant.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Yeah,
such
no,
a it's so to me that it's so quick anyway. It seems like that's not even a problem, or it's insignificant, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know?
So
Yeah, no, the chat is absolutely not asking any questions at this point about it. So
okay, that's okay. No, that's all right. We wanted to demonstrate it
all
anyhow.
good,
We wanted to show people how to
Yeah.
use it. We wanted to try to broadcast audio off the console live in a live stream to make sure that that's working. Can everyone in the chat just tell me how the audio quality is off the console? Does it sound okay? I would imagine if it didn't, somebody would say something. I don't know how many people are watching us.
We got like 25 watching. Nobody had anything negative to say about the sound. I know it sounded good to me here.
Okay, good. Then that's good. Then we know, at least from a test perspective, it works, right?
Yep, for sure.
And then again, you can always just save this. If I just hit save and I hit proceed, it will save all of this routing here. So the next time I open up this song, all this stuff will already be preloaded, and everything will be here. And there's no, you need to write it all down. Where did you patch it? All that stuff. It's all captured. The only thing you'd have to do is you'd have to still take pictures of the hardware to make sure the settings are the same, right? But aside from that, you don't need to worry about patch points. It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's killer. I love the thing.
I think it's absolutely, I mean, like, I don't know if you're ready to say the word game changer, but I am. This is definitely a game changer for the studio. It completely changes the way you interact with the hardware itself. You know what I mean? It revolutionizes the workflow. It changes the way you interact with the hardware, and it gives you a lot more creative options to what you're doing. I mean, it just makes it makes trying things that you would not normally try a much easier proposition, so you can get more creative with things this way too.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's so fast to switch between the pieces. It allows you to not, it just removes one of the friction points, really. And so it definitely makes things more creative, more interesting. It's faster. It's seamless. It seems stable so far in the time that I've had it. I haven't had anything crash on it once. it just works. You know, it just simply works.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the key, is that it just takes away one, you know, friction point and one thing that slows you down, which is patching stuff. But
Yeah.
again, like I said, to me, the actual patching is great, but the auditioning side by side of the gear is what really makes this thing killer. You couldn't do
For
that
sure.
before. Couldn't do that before.
Yep.
Just couldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. You know.
So that's it. Does anybody else want to hear anything? If you guys don't want to hear anything, we'll just get out of this screen here. Let me know if you guys are interested in this stuff at all anymore. If not, we will we don't have to listen to this stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep, still quiet in the chat.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
That's cool. So we can come back here.
Hey there.
I'll move the chat over there. So yeah, that's cool. So what else? Anything else anybody want to talk about? Any questions you guys have? Anything at all?
Yeah.
If you
Well,
guys,
I'm gonna reference back to a much earlier comment before you started with the demo stuff.
Okay, sure.
Peace Valley Auto asked what like I said, it's one of our standard live stream questions. What would you recommend for a 500 series chassis to start out with? So, you know, like I say, a standard question we always get, and the answer I think is always pretty much the same answer. Any decent 500 series chassis with good power delivery is going to be fine. I personally always recommend external power. I mean, I know a lot of people argue with that there are some out there now that have internal power that are just fine. I still prefer external power supply because it just keeps that noise out of the chassis. But anything decent, you'll be fine with. You don't have to get too crazy about worrying about what specific brand to use.
Yeah, yeah, you know, whether you can use APIs or radials, or I use the West Audios, but the Neves are really good too.
Yep.
The only thing that I know that there's different price points of these things. You can get a 10 space rack for a few $100, and you can get a 10 space rack for $1,100. And the difference is what Dave just said, is really, it's in the power supply, the clean power, and how the power is distributed across the unit. Although again, it depends on the modules you're going to put in it. But again, I always try to tell people, if possible, you know, $700 to $1,000. If you can spend that much, anything you buy in that price bracket, you're going to be just fine. You're not going to have any problem. Can you get a cheaper one? You can get a cheaper one. Will it work? Yeah, I'm sure it'll work. Well, it depends on what you're going to stick in it. That's the key.
Yeah. He just asked in the chat, so the price point doesn't really matter. Yeah, it does matter because some of the cheaper ones, you're not going to have as good build quality, and your power distribution may not be as robust as with a better one. If you're going to put 10 modules in a rack, it's going to be sucking up a lot of power, especially if you want to use them all at the same time. So yeah, price point matters. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to buy one, I would just buy it right the first time. You'll have it forever, right? So
Yep.
I wouldn't try to buy the cheapest thing that you can possibly get your hands on, because you may end up having an issue. And then, you know, and again, the other thing too is, if you buy something at the very low end of the price scale, they don't retain their value. If you ever try to sell it, you may as well throw it in the garbage. Where if you buy a good quality piece, if down the road you don't want it anymore, you could probably get 60 or 70% of your money back on the used market.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, just to say too, is like I'm a radial guy for 500 racks.
Yeah, they make good stuff.
Like,
good stuff.
I'm a radial guy because, like, if you want to talk about bulletproof, these things are heavy. They're incredibly heavily made. I've got my master bus chain is in a radial, and it just, I mean, it works. It just flat out works. And you could drop one of these things down the stairs and it's still going to work. That's kind of like, if people ask me for a specific recommendation, I go radial. But yeah, there's a lot of other really good options out there as well.
Yeah, radial's as good as any of the other ones. Yep. Malcolm says, what's the least expensive flock system you can get? I believe it's around $3,000. And I want to say, is that a 32 channel or 16 channel? That might be a 16 IO.
16 by 16, I think.
Yeah, I think there's 3 levels there, Malcolm. You can check their website. So again, you can buy a smaller unit if you have a lot less IO requirements. And they all work exactly the same way. They're just the only difference from what I'm told is just the amount of IO that you have.
Yeah.
King says, do you prefer the SSL Bus Plus on your mixes or the Origins compressor? The Bus Plus, because it just has more features in it. And I use the 4K mode on that, which I really like. And the 4K mode, you can add or subtract the amount of saturation. It's not just turn on, turn off. It's turn on, and then how much saturation do you want in that 4K circuit? So I like that. You don't get that in the Origin the compressor. I also use a little bit of the dynamic EQ, which is in that. I like that as well as the what the hell's the other thing I use? There's another feature on that thing that I'm using that I like.
Feedback.
No, the low total harmonic distortion, which really just helps shape the low end a little bit better. I like that. And so, so I like it better. It's got more options. It's more flexible. But some people say, well, does it sound any better if I set it up exactly the same way I set up this console? Like if I just set it up 1-to-1 to this, it sounds to me the same. Where it sounds different is when you start adding the additional options in the Bus Plus that you don't get from the console compressor, then it sounds different. But if I just copied the settings and didn't add anything else, it sounds the same to me. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's their SSL. It's that compressor with a bunch of other stuff in it. That's what it is.
And it's like every version of the bus comp too that's available to you in there too. It's not just the G series. There's other versions of that bus comp in there.
Yeah. Right. It gets on everything from the 4K to the which is a little bit more gritty and dirty like this one, to the J series consoles, the dualities. Those are a little bit more clean, a little bit more hi-fi sounding, and everything in between. Okay, we do have please put this on the thing on the thing. Thing on the thing. Okay, we'll do that for you.
Put the thing on the thing. All right, we'll do that.
All right, hold on. Let's get back here.
You got to get the CL1B and the Bluey off of the snare.
I don't have the CL1B on the snare, but I have the Bluey, so we got to get that off.
Yeah. You got to get the Bluey off the snare, but yeah.
Let me move my comments over here. Let me take the blue stripe off of this. So I'm just going to option click. Oh, what'd I do there?
You're okay.
Did I lose you? I just got to move my windows around here. There we go. Okay. CL1B and Bluey. Okay, hold on. Let me get everything on.
Find a vocal.
Okay. So vocal is going to be, pardon me, and the vocal is on channel 25. And this is these, again, there's no treatment, there's no tuning, there's no nothing. Not that James needs a lot of tuning, but no. I haven't even gone over his vocal with a fine tooth comb yet. So keep that in mind. Here's his vocal. Let me
check your loop.
Let's check the loop.
Wow, he stacked a lot of tracks up on this one, didn't he?
Yeah, that's pretty standard for him. Yeah. He likes recording lots of stuff and gives me lots of options, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got that. Solo him up for a second. Oh.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie.
Well, all right then. Okay, what do you want to hear first? Let's play. Okay, let's put a little, well, you know what? We can use hardware. I don't think there's anything on. We'll do a little bit of a low cut filter here just to get rid of some of that rumble. Okay. Aside from that, and we'll toss a tiny bit of the console reverb on it just so he's not so unbelievably bone dry.
I don't want to say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my car.
Again, we'll give him a little bit of reverb. Okay, so let's start with a bluey. That's channel 25, so that would be path 25. So we'll go down to the blue stripe. Alrighty, we'll toss that right here. Let's see how it sounds just like that. Now we'll have to reset it, but let's see.
Hard. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Okay, there we go. So we're running about 7-8 dB of compression in that ballpark. A little bit of a medium fast attack, fast release, 4-to-1 ratio. Here is with it, and then we'll take it away.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Okay, so there you go. So it's a little bit brighter, a little bit tighter. Let me just hit that a little bit one more time. I just want to make sure we level match that thing here, just to make sure we level match it a bit, because I have a feeling we didn't. Want to make sure it's level matched.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Okay, that's that one. And then he wanted what? The CL1?
CL1B.
That's the warm audio, right? So that's going to be up here
Yes, sir.
somewhere. Where are you, Mr. CL1B? Here we are, warm CL1B. Okay, so let's we'll stick this here and we'll bypass this one first. I have no idea what this is going to sound like, so let me go set it up.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
It's about the
We
same.
never ever say
It's about the same amount of compression. So here's with the CL1B.
it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Okay, now we'll see if the level match between the two units. We'll see here. I don't know. We'll check it out.
We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
There you go. They're close. So the 76.8 to me is a little bit more toppy, a little bit more crunchy. The warm is a little bit warmer. At least it seems like it is to me in the room here. Was that good for who asked for that? Whoever asked for that?
That was Anders Myrene.
Anders, was that good? Or do you want to hear something else? They sound completely different.
They are
We
definitely different.
never
That
ever say
the warm
it's a
audio.
dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Yeah, the warm
There you go.
audio adds a lot of weight to it, and the
Yep.
1176 adds a lot of air to it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's just a little different. And there's about, I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty close. I mean, I could dial it in so it's exact amount of compression, but it's really about, again, it's the meter's just the guide. It's really what do you hear, you know? I could probably set it a little bit closer, but it's pretty close, to be honest.
Dave, James
We
D.
never
Cooler
ever
entered the
see-
chat
Oh, hey, James D. Cooler, we're messing with your vocals. He loves that.
because
What
there's nothing an artist likes more than hearing their vocals soloed up on a live stream.
Yeah, but everyone understands it's not a mixed track. But we did things with drums and stuff like that. So James will have to go back and watch the replay. So yeah, but we could try to just make sure the compression amount is the same, but it's pretty close.
Say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
It's about 7 dB of compression.
Yeah.
7 dB, right? So the warm is more warm. To me, it's a little more weighty. The 76 is a little bit brighter and a little bit crunchier,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that's-
if you have a vocal you need to do a specific thing to, that's a really good way to find it. You know.
So we'll leave the warm because we were using the 76 before on the snare, weren't we?
On the snare. Yeah, we were using it on the snare.
The 76A.
Yep.
So we could solo that up here for a second.
Ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card. We never ever say it's a dumb way to get her. Never gonna have a problem, that was a lie. I don't wanna say, but your heart's like the weather. You have a pretty smile when you ask for my card.
Okay, so just listen to the snare drum. In the mix, you can hear as soon as you take away the 76, that the brightness of that snare and the crack, it kind of goes away. Listen to just the snare.
I need some clothes, a better car, and you know, a diamond star, the biggest house in Beverly Hills, and you love me if you never let the people feel. Hey, sweet baby, I don't need you. You better find another ATM. Life is more, don't spend my money. I'm not the one who's gotta pay. I'm not to pay your rent.
James D. Cooler, everybody, go to the description box of this video and go click on his stuff and go watch all his social media. That's ATM. Thanks, James, for letting us use this track as always. So yeah, so you can even hear it in the track when you take away the 76A, how the snare, you lose some of the brightness when we when we combine that with the SSL compressor and the CAPI EQ, which is really cool. What else is anybody?
That's actually a really good snare sound. You know.
I think so. I mean, it's not bad for just whipping it up, put it in there, right? And if you want to take, you solo it up and you take out these 3 pieces of gear.
Yeah.
Right? right? So there's our drum bus, the API and the dione. Really cool, right?
Really cool.
Really cool. Anybody else in the chat want another demonstration while we're here? This is your time to ask. See, so it's that quick, man. This is what I freaking love about the thing. It's just quick, 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 quick. Makes it really simple. And you don't have to, you don't have to go, what am I going to look over at the rack and try to figure out what I want to pick, like a plugin, right? You can just say, you know what, let me try that, dial it in. Ah, that sounds okay. Let me try something else. Oh, I like that better. Let's move on. It's that fast. And that's what makes it great. You never get out of that creative flow because you gotta think and look and patch and this and that. So I think it's pretty obvious, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious.
For sure.
Cool, right?
Yep. That thing is just such a game changer.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And the only thing that holds you back is the amount of IO.
Yeah.
Like we ran out of 2 channels. We don't have the master bus in the flock because we needed 8 channels of audio. We only have 6 available. We used them all. Now you could daisy chain more units together. I mean, that's possible. If you got a massive studio, you can do that if you wanted to. And you had the budget and you had the budget to do so. Because then you can experiment on your master bus. You can flop things in and out and all that stuff. We don't have that set up right now. But you're only limited to the IO, man. That's it. That's it. It's a brilliant system.
Mm-hmm.
James says he's so close to buying one, but you need more than 32 IO. So the bigger one is so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you want, you could get 2 32s. It's cheaper than getting a 96 or 192, right? You could get, right? Yeah. Yeah, I know it is. I'm almost sure it is because you could get 2 32s and have 64 IO if you don't need to go more than that. And that's cheaper than going with the big boy, which is 96. And the only reason why, here's the other thing, just for people to keep in mind, most of you will know this, but in case you don't, the only reason why we need 96 is because I'm running a console. If I was working all in the box and just working with the hardware, I wouldn't need a unit that big.
Mm-hmm.
It's only because I wanted to have 48 IO on the console available at all times. And here's the other thing too. You say, well, do you really need that? Do you put hardware in every single channel? No, never. So you could say, okay, well, I don't really need to have all 48 channels available on every mix at all times. If I only wanted to have 16 channels or 24 channels, you can have a smaller unit, right? But then you wouldn't be able to, you know what I mean? You could do that and say, okay, well, I'm only going to set my app up. I'm not going to set up a grid for all 48 channels. I'm only going to put them on the tracks that I need for that particular mix. You could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can scale down the system a little bit if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try the big unit because nobody really on YouTube shows the big unit with a console. That was the whole thing. We wanted to try to patch the whole console in. And it just makes it a little bit more flexible. But yeah, there's an expense to it. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I always, for your situation, I always equate this with the room correction thing. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
it's a big investment to make, but the impact it has on your ability to work in there, your workflow and everything else is worth the money in the long run. I mean, it's worth the investment just for the impact it has.
Yeah. And because I remember, yeah, you're right. I said the same thing about the Trinoff when I first bought that. I was skeptical. I mean, if you guys watched the videos, you saw it all. And I was like, man, at that time, I think it was about $6,000. I'm like, $6,000 room correction.
Yeah.
And as soon as we turned it on, I went, here's my credit card. There was no,
Yep.
you know, and that even has a larger impact than the flock does, to be totally honest, because it changes the way you hear things in the room to make sure you're hearing accurately, where the flock doesn't really change the way you hear things. I mean, it does in that you can audition the gear and stuff, but you know what I mean? It's two different things. But I see what you're saying. You're right. It's another one of those kind of workflow things where you just said, like, it has a huge impact. Aside from the Trinoff, it's probably the next piece in line that had the most impact on the total process and workflow, for sure. Much more so than any single piece of gear. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, the gear's all cool, but you can swap a piece in and out and almost, you know, but
Yeah.
this makes it really, you know, and this is, well, this particular unit's twice as much as the Trinoff as far as cost goes. Let's see. Ernest says, how is it with the NG leveler automation? You mean, how does it work? Is that your question? Like, how does it, the mechanics? I mean, there is a video on the channel. I show you exactly how it's set up and how it works.
Yeah.
But basically, it's inserted into the console much like the flock is. So the NG leveler, one unit is 16 in, 16 out. We have two. So we have one unit on the first 16 channels and one unit on the second 16 channels. So we could automate post-processing any one of the 32 channels. I don't have that on the buses, but there may be a day where I put one on the buses so you can automate the buses if you wanted to as well. But it's the same thing. If I want to automate the bass track on channel 11, all I do is hit the insert button. It's always running through the NG level. And then you just use the plugin to automate. So it really does work well. I mean, it is really a great solution for a console that doesn't have automation built in. And you want to do post-processing automation, meaning post-hardware, compression in particular.
Well, yeah, because that's the way we have that plugged in, where like the insert point comes out of the board. It sends your audio out of the board into the flock. The flock sends in and out of the hardware, and then we're coming out of the flock and going to the NG levelers before it goes back to the board.
That's right.
So the signal flow is board, flock, hardware, flock, NG leveler, board. So you're automating post-processing,
right,
so that your automation is not messing with your process levels. So, you know.
Right. So it's it's all controlled with a plugin digitally, so it's all recalled. It's just like using like any other plugin. So it really works well. It's really the only way to do it. If you truly want to do post-processing automation, post-compression, that's the only way to do it on a console that doesn't have automation built in. The only other way to do it, I shouldn't say that. The only other way to do it is if you wanted to automate the bass, you would have to run it through the console, EQ, compression, hardware, print it back in, then flatten everything. And then you can, you know, once it's treated and printed, then you just automate in the DAW. That's another way to do it. But it's twice as much work because you got to treat the track, print it, commit it, then automate it. And then you can't go back and change any of that hardware processing. You'd have to reprint it again.
Yeah, that's the way I mix.
Not a big deal, but I mean, it's just, that's the only other way to do it. This way you don't have to commit and do that, which makes it nice, right? Let's see here. George wants to know, is there any delay compensation adjustments to make in the flock or in the app that you handle in the DAW? No, I didn't know. Nope.
No.
I don't seem to have any latency or any kind of delay issues or anything like that in this particular setup. I know if you're using Pro Tools, they have delay compensation in there that you have to kind of mess with. I know guys who use hardware with Pro Tools rigs have to do that. But no, nothing that I have to do here. James says he thinks it's over 6K for 32. It might be, James. I don't know. You have to look. Let's see. Could you, if the larger unit, can you use the origins insert as point on the flock?
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. If I understand your question, Trip Killer, that's exactly what happens. So if I don't engage the insert button on a channel, you won't hear any of the hardware. So it's just the flock. Just think of the flock as an extension of the compressor or whatever hardware you have. So you have to engage the insert physically on the console for the track that you're going to put hardware on in the flock. So that's the way it's done. 16 by 16 is 800, is 30, and you have no gear patch. Okay. Oh, Wes says here, hi Wes, how are you, buddy? He says he uses 2 flock patch 32s and daisy chains them together. Got both as a demo models. Not cheap, but not 13 grand, worth every penny. Okay, so he bought them used, which is good. Or, demoed.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can daisy chain them together, right, Wes? I've heard that, and you should be able to do that with no problem. With no problem. All right. Okay, yep. James says it's still too expensive. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap. It's not a cheap way to do it. But I mean, depending on your situation, and on your studio and your workflow, it's expensive, but it's certainly makes things very convenient for sure. I don't know. I like it. I like using it. It does make things faster. And that's important, especially for me. If you're mixing for people and, you're charging, money by the project, which boils down to by the hour, everything that I can do to shave off 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here on a mix, 30 minutes on a mix, it pays for itself. That's how I look at it. But for the average home studio, that may not be, may not make sense,
Yeah. Yep.
We are trying to get with the big 6 inserts. In our case, I want to use plugins on the channel via the insert. You're trying it with the big. It should work the same way, shouldn't it? It should work on the big 6, just like the way it works.
Yeah.
The big if the big 6 has inserts on the channels, and I think it does. Then it should work. Should be exactly the same. Should be exactly the same. So, any more questions? We've been on here a couple of hours. We're probably going to wrap this up in a few minutes. If you guys have anything else you want to know, let me know. I'll try to answer them. You can always stick with a traditional patch bay. Convenience is always expensive. You ain't kidding.
No kidding.
Only you can decide it's worth spending the money on. That's right. It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it?
For sure.
There's nothing wrong with the manual patch bay. We used them for almost 4.5 years. They work fine. But this is way better. For me.
Yeah.
I can't see myself going back to a manual patch bay. But I get it. But I do this for a living. So it's different for everybody.
Well, plus like the actual work situation with the console itself and the number of pieces of hardware you have available makes the patching situation pretty ponderous.
It is
when you're running the 4 different patch bays and you're jumping between patch bays to get to hardware and then back and forth and then the number of times you actually have to go back and forth to do it. In your particular work situation, it's easily, rationalized, justified to have it there because of just the way you work, somebody like me, not so much,
Yeah, I mean, in a mix like this particular James track, having this system will knock 30 minutes off the mix, time wise, 20 to 30 minutes without a problem.
Yeah,
without a problem. No doubt in my mind. On a session, this is an average session. It's, you know, I got it comped down to about 40 tracks. This will knock off 20 to 30 minutes off that mix. So if you look at it like that, and if you're, you know, you just figure it out. You know, how many mixes are you going to do before you paid for it? You know what I mean? Within a year, it's bought itself in my situation, not in everybody's situation. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think Wes says he has them. He has two of them, right? One thing he would recommend if you're using a patch, one setup, back your hardware profiles. I've already done that. I did that, Wes. I saved my profile. I got it in two places, on this computer and in the cloud. So if this thing ever goes kaplooey, I don't have to go retype and set everything up again.
Yeah.
You know? With that much physical gear, having auto routing alone helps you at least document what you used and in what order. Right. There's no more having to write down all the patch points.
Yep. Exactly.
Wes said he had a system crash during a mix and it corrupted my patch hardware. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
No, yeah, I did that. I thought about that. And once I set everything up, I backed it up. So hopefully I won't have that problem. And, you know, oddly enough, too, because I haven't had this that long. So,
yeah.
But I've been trying to, you know, in some of my testing, like I was dragging stuff in and out. I was trying to get the thing to crash on me to see, can I get it to crash? And so far, it just hasn't. It just hasn't. But, you know, hey, it's a computer and things crash, you know? So it could happen. It could happen. But yeah, no, I tried to back everything up. Hopefully that doesn't happen frequently if it does happen at all. So anyway, I thought that was cool and I thought you guys would like to see that. You know, in use and just give you a little feel for, again, what you can do with a system such as this if you are in the market for something like this. But if you have any other questions along the way, you can always email me. You can leave comments below this video if you're watching the replay. I check the comments. I'll go back in there and answer them. Or if you have any questions, you can always email me through my website, and I'd be happy to help if anyone has any technical questions around this thing if you happen to be in the market for one. And that's it. That's the show, folks.
That's it, gang.
So that's it, man. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us today here on the live stream. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Go check out James D. Cooler. His links are in the description box below. He has a lot of cool music.
For sure.
And we'll see you in a few more weeks on another live stream. Take care, everybody.
Good to see y'all. Bye.